Everybody take a seat, preferably on something that wasn't cursed or slimed in the last century, chirped Glinda the formerly good, waving a clipboard as if it could exorcise residual wickedness from the vaulted room. The chamber, a repurposed banquet hall in the Wicked Queen's mountain castle, still smelled faintly of spite and apples, but the tables had been draped with pastel linens and centerpieces of daisies. A jaunty banner read, "Welcome to Villains Anonymous. One day at a time. One crime at a time." 7 individuals shuffled in, a fog of awkwardness swirling around them like leftover storm clouds. They were the ones heroes whispered about, the nightmares in footnotes, the footnotes in restraining orders. But tonight, they were something else. Retirees hoping to kick evil cold turkey, or at least lukewarm pheasant. First was Wolfgang B. Wolf, known in tabloids as the Big Bad. He'd traded in his grandmother cosplay for a sports jacket with elbow patches and carried a tote bag that said, "Vegan options or bust." His ears still twitched at high-frequency squeals. 3 little pigs had filed a sound ordinance complaint against him last spring, but he'd promised his parole officer no huffing, puffing, or property damage for at least 90 days. Behind him clanked Captain James Hook, now sporting a polished titanium prosthetic. The original Iron Hook had been repurposed as a door knocker by some thrifty mermaids. Hook's latest mantra, stitched crosswise on his burgundy waistcoat, read, "No more swash, only sash." He'd taken up ribbon dancing as cardio. Rounding out the arrivals were Rumpelstiltskin, who'd rebranded himself as Rumpy to disassociate from straw-spinning extortion. Malvorina, the witch who once turned princes into amphibians, but now knitted them sweaters instead. The Queen, formerly known as Wicked, QFKW, who refused to answer to evil because it felt algorithmically extreme. And skulking in the corner, Prince Charming's stepmother's cousin twice removed, a minor villain desperate for major redemption. The final attendee arrived 40 minutes late, on a broom that sputtered like a lawnmower low on oil. She dismounted, yanked goggles from her frizzled gray hair, and cackled reflexively, then slapped a hand over her mouth. "Sorry. Nervous habit," she murmured. "Call me Hazel." "Great!" Glinda trilled. "We're all here. Please form a circle. And remember, what's uttered in the castle stays in the castle, unless a talking mirror leaks it to the press, in which case we deny, deny, deny." They settled into mismatched chairs salvaged from various enchanted foreclosures. In the center sat a cauldron filled not with bubbling curses, but lemon water and cucumber slices. Every time someone dipped a cup, the cauldron chimed, "Hydrate and celebrate!" in Tinker Bell's voice, a side effect of fairy dust contamination at the bottling plant. Glinda consulted her clipboard. Tonight's theme is trigger recognition. Step 1 in our 12-hex program. Who wants to start? Silence, a tumbleweed, or perhaps a sentient hairball, rolled across the floor. Finally, Wolfgang cleared his throat. "Hi, I'm Wolfgang, and I'm a recovering porcinivore." "Hi, Wolfgang," everyone echoed, some with more sarcasm than support. "I've been fang-free for 8 weeks," he said. "But yesterday, I walked past a breakfast diner. The smell of sizzling bacon." He shivered, claws tapping the chair arm like castanets. "I almost burst through the window, but I remembered the 3 Ds. Distract, dilute, and digest something else. So, I chewed mint gum and attended a slam poetry reading about interspecies empathy." Applause crackled around the circle. Even Hook offered a curt nod, his ribbon wand fluttering like a tragic butterfly. Glinda beamed. "Excellent coping strategy, Wolfgang. Next?" Hook stood, boots squeaking. "The sea sings to me, mate." He peered around, realizing he was the only one in nautical attire. That briny siren whispers, "Plunder a schooner, James! Wave your cutlass, commandeer some booty!" But plundering violates my probation, so I've redirected my urges into competitive origami. Behold. From inside his coat, he produced a tiny schooner folded from glitter paper. The mast was a toothpick, with a lavender sail that read, "Peace, treasured, here." He placed it reverently on the floor. Malvorina leaned forward, eyes misting. "It's beautifully creased." Rumpy clapped so enthusiastically his rings flew off, ricocheting off the cauldron which squealed, "Refill me, sweet cheeks!" QFKW rose next. Her gown, once black as a tax auditor's soul, had been dyed a gentle mauve. "My triggers are reflective surfaces," she confessed. "Mirrors, polished apples, puddles, once a stainless steel spoon." She inhaled. "This week, I got through an entire farmer's market without ranking myself against strangers. Instead, I complimented a barista's freckles." She cried, probably from joy. "Probably," Hazel muttered, then added quickly, "Sorry, supportive space, supportive space." When the sharing ended, Glinda clapped. "Marvelous vulnerability. Time for snack hour. Remember, today we're trying opposite action. Foods that represent the antithesis of your old ways." An elf wheeled in a cart, laden with items. Tofu sausages for Wolfgang. Saltwater taffy printed with affirmations for Hook. Mirror-shaped cookies iced with the words, "You're fine, just shine" for QFKW. And straw-free gold-wrapped candies for Rumpy. Wolfgang sniffed a tofu sausage, grimaced, and ate it anyway. Taste! Eat! Symbolism! Divine! While they munched, Glinda unveiled a poster listing upcoming field trips designed to practice non-evil behaviors in real-world contexts. 1. Volunteer day at the orphanage. No kidnapping allowed. 2. Bake sale for reforesting burnt kingdoms. 3. Meditative forest bathing with ex-dryads. 4. The Good Deed Carnival. Ferris wheels, not torture wheels. Rumpy squinted. Carnival. There'll be offspring. They're syrupy. I'm allergic to syrupy children. "Bring antihistamine," Glinda chirped. The group dispersed for the night, under a waning gibbous moon that looked suspiciously like it was winking. Villains shuffled to designated sleeping quarters, a major concession from QFKW, who'd originally insisted guests sleep inside the dungeon for ambience. Now, the dungeon was the meditation studio, complete with beanbags and whale song crystals. Over the next week, they attended workshops with names like Control-Alt-Del Hexis and Mwahaha Management. They practiced deep breathing, inhale courage, exhale carnage, and kept gratitude journals. Hook, grateful my heart still beats louder than the tick-tock of memory. QFKW. Grateful my complexion glows without draining life from maidens. Wolfgang. Grateful nobody squeals when I enter a room. Exceptions. The cauldron. They even installed a thoughts to doves box. Slip in a sinister idea. And through unspecified magic and generous bird seed, coax out a flutter of white doves. It worked, until someone fed the box a full revenge monologue. It produced 200 doves that refused to leave and formed a union demanding health care. Came the morning of the Good Deed Carnival, sun shining like an overzealous spotlight. The group boarded a hayride wagon, decorated with sunflowers and disclaimers. All passengers waived the right to curse fellow riders. Wolfgang rode muzzle-free but wore a tasting is not consent button. Hook brought along a pocket square he'd folded into an olive branch. Rumpy grumbled, but carried an EpiPen. The carnival sprawled across a meadow. Booths with ring tosses, cotton candy, charity pitch-in pies. A sign proclaimed, "Heroes and reformed villains welcome." Underneath, in smaller print, active villains must check all weapons and wands at gate. Hazel skidded to a stop, clutching her broom like a security blanket. Will they search this? Glinda patted the broom, which let out a discouraged wheeze. Only for ill intentions. She winked. You left yours at home, right? Hazel coughed theatrically. At first things went well. QFKW worked the kissing booth, on the cheek only, raising coins for the Free Slay Dogs Fund. Hook managed the dunk tank, letting orphans launch softballs at a target. With every splash, he emerged smiling, Hook replaced by a foam paddle. Wolfgang supervised the hot dog stand, zealously promoting soy dogs. Trouble began at noon, when the three little pigs, now property developers with a sideline in motivational speaking, strolled by the soy dog stand. They wore suits of brick-patterned tweed and eyed Wolfgang suspiciously. Well, well, oinked the eldest, adjusting his monocle. If it isn't our former assailant. Care to buy us lunch? We prefer pork-free. Wolfgang's hackles rose. He clenched his paws behind his back, reciting the serenity spell. Grant me serenity to accept pigs I cannot eat. Rumpy, manning the Guess the Baby Dragon's Weight booth, overheard. Wolfie, breathe, or chew this. He tossed a butterscotch disc, which struck Wolfgang's snout and stuck there. Hazelnut notes wafted. Wolfgang's pupils dilated. He sighed, tension evaporating like kettle steam. Crisis averted. But the carnival had other temptations. At the Pie Throw fundraiser, participants hurled desserts at caricatures of historical villains painted on wooden cutouts. Someone yelled, "Hit the straw man for Rumpelstiltskin!" The crowd roared, and a boy pitched a blueberry pie that splattered against a figure wearing Rumpy's unmistakable crown. Rumpy paled. "Trigger!" he squeaked, fingers twitching in search of contract parchment. Glinda intercepted him, thrusting a bundle of free-range stress straw into his hands. "Spin it into confetti," she advised. "Make a mess, not mayhem." He shredded straw until bits of yellow littered the grass like carnivorous angel hair. Again, disaster dodged. Yet the biggest test came for QFKW. A merchant sold souvenir mirrors with built-in filters. Enchanted selfies guaranteed. QFKW felt the gravitational pull of old vanity, like a whirlpool swirling around her new mauve identity. Careful, warned Hazel, gnawing a candy apple, non-poisoned as certified by the Department of Edible Curiosities. I can look without judging, QFKW insisted. She peered into a hand mirror. At first, it simply reflected her face, lined with centuries of plot twists. Then words scrolled across the glass. "You're pretty good, but not the best." A familiar shard of ice slid into her heart. She gripped the mirror, lip curling. "Who programs these filters?" The merchant shrugged. "A dwarf startup." QFKW's voice simmered. "Well, they mismeasured my magnificence." Rumpy sensed meltdown approaching. He whispered, "Compliment 3 strangers, stat." QFKW pivoted, eyes landing on a cluster of teenagers filming a dance challenge. She approached. They froze, expecting hexes. Instead, she said, "Darling, your acne is adorably abstract. It's like constellations." The teens blinked, then beamed. Crisis, thrice averted. By sunset, the group reconvened near the Ferris wheel. Armed with funnel cakes and relief, Glinda awarded them gold stars. "I'm handing out sobriety chips," she announced. Actually small fudge discs, shaped like halos. They bore the inscription, "One good day." Everyone cheered, except Hazel, who studied a cluster of black clouds rolling in from the east. "Looks like a storm," she muttered. "Or perhaps... Kay! Boom!" The Ferris wheel lurched as a bolt of green lightning struck its apex. A chill swept the meadow. Picnic blankets fluttered away like startled kites. A booming voice echoed, "Wickedness! Vacuum creates a power void!" From the storm emerged the Grand Sorcerer Maledictus, a villain still in active service, sporting a swirling cape patterned with cease and desist symbols. "While you lowlifes play patty cake," he thundered, "I've seized your market share." He brandished a staff swirling with purple fire. Parents screamed. Heroes in the crowd fumbled for swords or safety whistles. Maledictus pointed his staff at the Ferris wheel, transmuting it into a spinning cage lined with spikes. Children shrieked inside. Glinda gasped. "Emergency step 13. Handle external evil." The retired villains stared, hearts pounding with muscle memory. They'd vowed to renounce wickedness, but could they deploy their dark skills for good? The ethical calculus was dizzying. Wolfgang spoke first. "I wasn't allowed to eat pigs, but nobody said I couldn't bite a sorcerer." Hook twirled his ribbon wand like a nunchuck. "I may not plunder, but I can board a hostile vessel, whether maritime or meteorological." QFKW cracked her knuckles, mirror cookies breaking in her pockets. "Let's show him what redemption looks like." Sharpened. They turned to Glinda. She adjusted her clipboard into a sword shape, courtesy of origami lessons. "Harmful intent restricted, but protective force authorized. Proceed with caution and consent." Maledictus sneered as they advanced. "Look at you, geriatric goons. You think therapy cleansed your claws?" Wolfgang answered with a howl, pitched perfectly to shatter the spikes on the Ferris wheel. Metal melted like sugar under hot tea. Hook slung his ribbon into the machinery, halting the spin. He extended his paddle arm, scooping children out and sliding them to safety down a makeshift silk chute woven by Malvarina in record time. QFKW seized the mirror merchant's largest model, angling it to reflect Maledictus's own magic back at him. He fired a bolt. It ricocheted, singeing his cape into something resembling a cautionary vest. Meanwhile, Rumpy darted around, collecting drop tickets and cotton candy sticks. He snapped his fingers. Tickets twirled into runes, sticks into stakes. Hazel hopped her sputtering broom, creating wind vortices that corralled Maledictus's clouds into a cumulonimbus timeout. Cornered, Maledictus snarled, "You may suppress me, but your darkness will resurge. Evil is easier. Evil is fun." Wolfgang bared immaculate fangs. "Nah, pal, we've got tofu dogs and group hugs." With synchronized precision, practiced from trust fall exercises, they formed a circle, holding hands and paws and hooks. Their combined reformed villain energy manifested as a shimmering aura shaped like a rubber chicken, comedy being their unifying element. The aura whooshed outward, slapping Maledictus off his feet. His staff clattered, extinguished. Glinda stepped forward, heel-crunching confetti straw. "You have a choice," she told him gently. She offered a blank contract. "Sign here to join our program, or face the music. Specifically, a karaoke marathon of uplifting ballads." Maledictus glared at the crowd. Heroes, children, ex-victims, now standing behind the villains. Something in their stance spelled, "We believe in them." He swallowed. "Fine!" he spat, snatching the pen. The pen burst into sparkles that rearranged into an ankle monitor shaped like a smiley face. Cheers erupted. The Ferris wheel reverted to benign whirring. The sun, possibly bribed with compliments, peeped from behind repentant clouds. Back at the castle that night, the support group held an emergency debrief. They sat in their circle, clothes singed, spirits soaring. Glinda called the session to order. "You saved a carnival without losing your progress. That merits a new milestone. Beneficial use of formerly evil skill sets." They each received a badge, a tiny embroidered line crossing out a skull and crossbones, replaced by a balloon dog. Hook polished his new badge. "Strangest battle I've fought, smacking evil with pastel ribbons." "Effective, though," noted Malvarina, stitching scorch marks off Wolfgang's jacket. We weaponized whimsy. Rumpy flipped through his gratitude journal. Today, I'm grateful that shredded straw repels lightning. Hazel tapped her broom affectionately. And that faulty aviation can still herd clouds. QFKW approached the cauldron, which chirped, "Refill me, radiant renegade." She did, then raised her cup. To progress so tangible, even a talking kettle recognizes it. They toasted with lemon water. Miraculously, the cauldron now dispensed sparkling. Wolfgang wiped foam from his snout. I propose we broaden our mission. Not just neutral, proactive good. The world's got enough heroes in spandex. It needs antihistamines for everyday ills. Glinda's eyes gleamed. I couldn't agree more. I've drafted a venture, the Happily Ever After Crisis Team, HEACT. Because when something goes wrong, it's time to hack! Catchy, Hook conceded. What's our first deployment? Disaster relief bake sale, Glinda said. Then maybe neutralizing a kraken with kindness. Maledictus, now in a polka dot probation vest, raised his hand timidly. Do I, get a roll? Absolutely, Glinda replied. You're on flyer design. Use your dramatic flair, minus skulls. As laughter ricocheted, the magic mirror above the mantel lit up. Newsflash. It intoned. Today's top story. Retired rogues rescue rookies. Redirect recklessness. The mirror winked at QFKW. Also, your new shade of mauve is magnificent. She blushed, realizing the compliment no longer dictated her worth, but decorated it like confetti on cake. Days turned into weeks. The castle became a hub for misfit reformation. On Mondays, they held non-menacing yoga, downward dragon, corpse position optional. Wednesdays were pen pal night, letters to former victims, full of apologies and coupons for therapy goats. Fridays hosted improvisational comedy to decompress intrusive thoughts. Maledictus excelled at playing a broomstick. Word spread. Storybook Land's Chamber of Commerce voted HEACT, Most Improved Organization. Tourism brochures featured them standing heroically in front of the castle, Wolfgang clutching a basket of kale chips, Hook brandishing ribbon nunchucks, QFKW flashing a compact mirror that read, "Reflections, not regressions." Even the Three Little Pigs offered free home reinforcement seminars, straw excluded. One Tuesday, while they organized a clothing drive for giants downsized by economic beanstalk collapse, a parchment arrived via carrier Harpy. It bore the royal seal of King Once Upon a Time himself. To the esteemed members of Villains Anonymous and HEACT, the letter read. Whereas you have demonstrated valor, compassion, and a commendable ability to repurpose looming dread into public service, you are hereby invited to the Grand Ball of Renarration, where your tales shall be rewritten with happier chapters. Rumpy read the letter aloud twice, voice cracking. Renarration. That means new endings. Glinda dabbed tears. And maybe sequels. Preparation for the ball became their latest communal project. Hazel buffed her broom till it gleamed like an airport walkway. Malvarina enchanted used glass slippers into ergonomic footwear. Wolfgang rehearsed polite small talk, devoid of appetite references. QFKW, resisting old temptations, designed centerpieces featuring mirrors that flattered everyone equally or randomly, which was roughly the same. The night of the ball, the castle's drawbridge unfurled onto a red carpet. Trumpets blared hero anthems remixed with jazz flute. Guests arrived. Knights, sprites, tax auditors. They gawked at the former villains stationed politely as greeters. Inside the ballroom, King Once Upon a Time toasted the assembly. Stories grow stale without change, he declared. Tonight we honor those who turned the page. He gestured to the support group, now lined up beneath a chandelier spun from the tears of grateful unicorns. Each received a scroll, retitling their legends. Wolfgang, the Big Good Wolf, Guardian of Structural Integrity, Captain Hook, Captain Handshake, Navigator of Conflict Resolution. Rumpelstiltskin, Rumpelstiltskin, Community Weaver, Malvorina, Crochet Crone, Stitcher of Second Chances Hazel, Wind Shepherd, Meteorological Mediator, Queen formerly known as Wicked, the Reflective Regent, Patron Saint of Self-Acceptance, Maledictus, Probationary Design, Warlock, Aesthetics over Annihilation. Applause thundered so loud even the chandelier sniffled. As waltz music drifted, Wolfgang approached the three little pigs, who wore sequin suspenders. "May I have this dance?" he asked. They hesitated, memories of breath and brick swirling. But then the youngest pig squared his shoulders. "All right, but no spinning me like a baton." They danced, clumsily but laughing. Hook led a conga line with Tinker Bell. Rumpy taught kids straw confetti art. QFKW snapped selfies with anyone who asked, each captioned, "Fairest, Essays shared." Glinda clipboard exchanged for champagne, surveyed the merriment. "How's the view from non-villainy?" she asked Maledictus, who stood awkwardly. Pamphlets for an anger management art class under his arm. He smiled, sheepish. "Lighter than a levitation spell." "Get used to it," she said, clinking glasses. Midnight drew near. Traditionally, that was when curses peaked. Instead, a single firework spelled rewrite in silver letters across the sky, followed by a rain of biodegradable glitter. No shoes were lost, no pumpkins overturned, no glass shattered, except for old assumptions. Outside, the moon beamed as if it too had joined the program. The original banner from their first meeting. One day at a time, one crime at a time. Now hung in the grand ballroom, updated with neon paint. One good deed at a time, a new rhyme every time. Wolfgang, Hook, Rumpy, Malvorina, Hazel, QFKW, and even Maledictus locked arms for a group photo. They smiled, some with fangs, some with crow's feet, all with hope. The camera flashed, capturing not perfection, but progress. Later, back at the castle, they placed the framed photo beside the cauldron, which purred, "Look at those do-gooders go!" Nobody corrected it. The label fit. They gathered for their nightly reflection. Glinda, ever the facilitator, asked, "Feelings?" "Full," Wolfgang answered, patting his chest. "Buoyant," Hook said. "Validated," QFKW whispered. "Less itchy," Rumpy admitted, brandishing a business card. "Straw art therapy, sliding scale," Hazel grinned. "Forecast, clear skies," Maledictus, stroking his probation vest, murmured. "Possible chance of self-forgiveness." And so, in the castle once feared more than tax season, laughter echoed through halls scrubbed of malice. They discovered that redemption wasn't a finish line, but an open door. No, a revolving door, spinning with the energy of continuous choice. With every dawn, they chose, again and again, to walk back inside and sit in that imperfect circle, sipping lemon water, planning the next good mischief. Somewhere, in far-off storybooks, children still trembled at mentions of the big bad wolf or the wicked queen. But newer editions footnoted a thrilling twist. Villains can change, and sometimes they throw better parties than the heroes ever did.